The big headline that's also emerged is the United States rejecting Poland's offer to deploy fighter jets to Ukraine via the United States using NATO. US has claimed that Poland's offer to send MiG-29 jets to them so that it can be passed to Ukraine will raise concerns and won't be, as US puts it, a tenable one. Poland is ready to deploy all its MiG-29 jets to an airbase in Germany and put them at the disposal of the United States. Poland also urged other NATO members to do the same. This comes a couple of days after US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said NATO members have the green signal to send fighter jets to Ukraine and that the US will help replace the aircraft for NATO members. Now, they don't seem to be coming good on that assurance, with Poland actually going ahead and saying we'll provide the jets. They want to use, of course, NATO airfields, which is why they're approaching the United States. But the US claims this isn't tenable. And it's because of this kind of hesitancy and hesitation that you're seeing the Ukraine President Zelensky lashing out at the West. He's fighting it out. He's remaining defiant to fight for his motherland. What lies at the heart of the Russia-Ukraine conflict is what began is, of course, Ukraine's bid to get NATO membership. That's what started all of this. And now you have NATO's pin-drop silence on the war and not willing to really help the way Ukraine wants them to help. That's why Zelensky in his latest video has lashed out at the Western allies.
Я запитав сьогодні у 27 лідерів Європи, чи буде Україна в НАТО.
Today I've asked 27 European leaders whether Ukraine will be in NATO. I've asked directly, everyone is afraid. No one answers. But we are not afraid. We are not afraid of anything. We are not afraid to defend our country. We are not afraid of Russia. We are not afraid of talking about neutrality. We are not NATO members at the moment. But what guarantees will we get?
Ukraine's bid to get membership of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is at the heart of the Russia-Ukraine conflict that has now triggered a full-blown war. The two countries are at each other's throats. The third player, NATO, is silent over the key issues. While thousands are displaced and hundreds dead, NATO is not committing to a membership for Ukraine so far. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has also urged NATO to enforce a no-fly zone over his country's skies and protect them from Russian missiles and warplanes. NATO has not agreed to either of his demands.
NATO is a defensive alliance. Our core task is to keep our 30 nations safe. We are not part of this conflict. And we have a responsibility to ensure it does not escalate and spread beyond Ukraine. Because that would be even more devastating and more dangerous.
Zelensky feels let down by his Western allies. He said the West could have helped Ukraine, but they witnessed our city get bombed. As the war rages in Ukraine, NATO allies seem to have made distinctions in the help they offer. While they may supply weapons to Ukraine, they will not enter the war in any active role. Ukrainians will have to defend their land themselves. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, the United States has retaliated to Russia by waging an economic war against them. They've been imposing one sanction after another, and now US President Joe Biden has banned all imports of oil and gas from Russia. The decision aims to pressurize Vladimir Putin, Russian president, to end the invasion on Ukraine. Speaking at the White House, Biden said that Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at US ports. The Russian invasion of Ukraine, remember, has triggered a meltdown in the global economy because of these kind of sanctions, particularly oil prices, which have been skyrocketing for the last 14 days since the war began. On Monday, it soared to more than 9%, hitting its highest levels since 2008. Earlier, Russia had warned of this. They said oil prices will hit the record high of $300 per barrel. The Putin administration has also threatened to cut off gas supply to Europe. All eyes now are on Russia's comeback to US's economic war, but there's no doubt that citizens in America will also now face the brunt of this decision by Biden.
we're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine. This is a move that has strong bipartisan support in Congress and, I believe, in the country. Americans have rallied to support their Ukrainian people and made it clear we will not be part of subsidizing Putin's war. We made this decision in close consultation with our allies and our partners around the world, particularly in Europe, because a united response to Putin's aggression has been my overriding focus, to keep all NATO and all of the EU and our allies totally united. The decision today is not without cost here at home. Putin's war is already hurting American families at the gas pump. Since Putin began his military buildup on Ukrainian borders, just since then, the price of the gas at the pump in America went up 75 cents. And with this action, it's going to go up further. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home. In coordination with our partners, we've already announced that we're releasing 60 million barrels of oil from our joint oil reserves. Half of that, 30 million, is coming from the United States. And we're taking steps to ensure the reliable supply of global energy. We're also going to keep working with every tool at our disposal to protect American families and businesses.
Now, while we've seen sanctions being imposed, the focus right now of both Russia and the United States is on crude oil, and that's where the economic war has progressed now. Joe Biden has, of course, made that big announcement saying crude import from Russia has been banned. Vladimir Putin has responded, talking about banning oil exports also to all of Europe. Besides that, Biden has also said that US will not import Russian oil, gas or energy. In response to that, Putin has said that Russian oil ban will only spike prices across the world. He's talking about prices going up to almost $300 per barrel. Biden, in fact, defending his decision, knowing full well the consequences of it, has said that the moves have been designed to economically punish Putin, to economically punish Russia. There are, of course, questions about whether the punishment will be limited to Russia alone. And that's exactly what Putin's saying. He's saying that the ban on Russian oil markets will impact global markets as well. This isn't going to be limited to Russia. Besides that, Putin has said that the economic move to extend support to Ukraine is why they're actually taking these kind of steps of sanctions. Putin, in fact, has responded saying that we have the right to take actions that mirror these penalties. So Russia making very clear that they're not going to back off in any way, that they're going to ensure that there's tit-for-tat steps being taken. Let's move on now and get you all the updates of what's coming in from Ukraine. The latest ground reports. Day 14 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And what we're picking up really from all of the cities is death, damage and endless destruction. Capital Kyiv right now is what everyone's talking about because of the fact that Russian troops are inching closer and closer, and there are airstrikes that are being reported right now in the capital. Efforts are being made to evacuate suburban areas of Kyiv. Heavy shelling continues to rock the Ukrainian skies in cities like Irpin, which is on the outskirts of Kyiv. A bridge has been damaged. People were seen crossing despite the fact that it's completely destroyed because it's the only way to flee from their town. Women, children and elderly are being rushed to safe spot. Many of the men of the families are staying back along with the military to push the Russians back. Northeastern city of Ukraine, Sumy, was left in shambles after non-stop airstrikes. Ukraine claims that the Russian bombardment has claimed 21 lives, including that of 2 children in Sumy. Ukraine has also claimed that residential buildings particularly are being targeted. Remember that the city of Kherson, which is in South Ukraine, has already been captured by Russia, but people in the city gathered to protest against the Russian invasion. They've come together to take on Putin's army. The Ukraine government, meanwhile, has claimed that personnel of the Zaporizhzhia power plant are being held hostage. They're being tortured. A similar claim was made by Ukraine about staff of the defunct Chernobyl power plant as well. It's clear that Russia is planning a mega assault on Kyiv in hours from now. Alarm bells were sounded by Ukraine itself, by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, who revealed that Russian troops have regrouped to organize an all-out assault on Kyiv in the coming days. The heart of Ukraine, the citadel of Ukraine, is gearing up for a mammoth assault. There's a huge Russian convoy slowly making its way to the city of Kyiv. And the Ukraine army has sounded its biggest warning yet to citizens. A top Ukrainian army general has said that Russia's combat-ready units are now regrouping on the outskirts of Kyiv for an assault like no other.
Kyiv is bracing for it. Kyiv has been bracing for it, but now it's imminent. Now it's likely to happen any time is what we are being told as soon as this ceasefire lapses, because this ceasefire is only perhaps the last chance for foreigners to leave this place, for non-combatants to leave this place. And that is why Russia unilaterally has announced 2 ceasefires in 48 hours.
The warning has got Ukrainians living in the capital rattled. The reality that this huge Russian convoy could very soon be seen rolling through the streets of Kyiv.
We got a bad news from Irpin that around 30% of the city is still under the control of Russian troops. And the bad news is that the army of Kadyrov, they're just getting into the houses of people. They are taking their money. They are behave themselves as the looters, as a crazy looters, because they are with the guns. People without heat, energy, without food. It's very hard for them. And the Kadyrov army takes the last that they can take from these people.
Russian troops are now focusing all their energy on capturing Kyiv. Their aggression doubled after this video from Ukraine President Zelensky confirming that he's indeed camping in the capital currently.
Ось вечірній Київ. Понеділок, вечір. Ви знаєте, ми звикли говорити понеділок день важкий. В країні війна, тож кожен день понеділок. Я залишаюсь тут, залишаюсь у Києві, на Банковій, не ховаючись і нікого не боюсь, стільки, скільки потрібно, щоб перемогти у цій нашій вітчизняній війні.
Russian troops, meanwhile, are bombarding cities bordering Kyiv. This is the situation in cities like Irpin, where civilians are fleeing in large numbers. And people can be seen struggling to cross a decimated and broken bridge. Russia is moving closer and closer to Kyiv. But Ukrainians are vowing to fight back with all they've got.
13 days that were there since the beginning of war, we were able to regroup, we were able to prepare. Our forces are stronger than ever. Our resistance groups are ready to fight. We are ready for a siege if it happens. And the only thing that we do really need right now is the protection from the air.
The final assault will no doubt be a bloody and deadly one on the capital of Kyiv, as Russia will look to end the invasion by capturing the citadel. Ukraine, however, has made it clear they will ensure it's no walkover for Putin's army. Bureau Report, India Today. So as Russian troops are focusing all of their attention on Kyiv, it's the nearby cities that are struggling right now. Irpin, Bucha cities, you're seeing citizens being evacuated fast because of heavy shelling being reported in these areas. Strategic plans are also being laid out to stall Russian advances towards Kyiv by stalling them in these cities itself. Here's a report from Bucha.
Місто Буча, 3 березня 22-го року.
Bucha, on Kyiv's outskirts, is facing the brunt of attacks.
You can hear shelling in the backdrop, and hundreds of people are fleeing this battleground. They're fleeing the war zone.
As Russia advances towards Kyiv, the capital's suburbs are feeling the heat of missiles.
You can hear all the Russian action. It continues, maybe at a distance, but it is quite a scare. We have residents from Bucha.
Bucha was left bruised and battered after a severe pounding by the Russian artillery.
The broken bridge and broken lives. Now a desperate attempt being made to rescue senior citizens. Easier said than done. An effort is being made to rescue these people from this broken bridge. Now this place in the Bucha district in Irpin is directly in the line of Russian fire, and people are desperately trying to come out.
The town began emptying as citizens fled to safer places.
This is a very crucial bridge to enter Kyiv, and this bridge has been blown up so that the Russian forces are stalled. While the Russians may have their bridge-laying tanks, but getting those tanks in position here or finding another easier access to Kyiv will stall their advance, and this has given time to the Ukrainian forces.
We have residents from Bucha leaving their homes either on foot or being taken in ambulances and emergency services that have been pressed into action only for evacuation right now in Bucha district. The whole night, people over here really had to go through a lot of Russian action. So it is continuing. There are many areas that are absolutely unsafe.
We see a lot of war techniques, a lot of tanks, a lot of army, and a lot of foreign.
Are they Ukrainian or Russian?
No, it's not Ukrainian people. It's not Ukrainian. It's Russian people.
Ukrainian defense forces are doing their utmost to stall the Russian advance.
The situation is extremely grim. The Russians seem to be advancing, and that is why this area is being evacuated. If you notice, only military personnel here in this Irpin Bucha belt here in Ukraine. But hold on. Be very careful, Pawan, very careful. These are anti-tank mines that are laid on the road here. So now you can make out how dangerous the situation is. My camera person Pawan was very close to these anti-tank mines.